You know that specific feeling? It's almost a physical thing, really, when the world is basically on fire around you.
Hmm.
Maybe you're at an airport gate and the screen just flashes canceled,
Oh, yeah. The
or
worst.
you're staring at a kitchen sink that is like actively spraying water in a direction water should never ever go.
Right.
Or, and this one is my personal favorite, a deadline lands on your desk at 2 in the afternoon for a report that has to be perfect by 4.
The paralysis. That's what that is. It's it's the default human setting.
It feels like paralysis.
It is. Your sympathetic nervous system just kicks in, cortisol spikes, and your frontal lobe, the part of you that actually knows how to solve problems, it just goes offline.
Right. It's that freeze response.
Hmm.
But then there's that other type of person. I think we all have one in our network somewhere.
We do.
The friend who texts you from the airport, not to cram into the void, but to say they've already negotiated a food voucher, booked a better connection through a different hub, and are now enjoying a glass of wine.
Hmm.
We have this massive stack of case studies today. Stories from people like Daniel, Olivia, Henry, Sarah, and I just want to know, are they just lucky? Is it genetic? Or is there an actual system here that we can, steal?
It is definitely not luck. And, while personality plays a role, what we're looking at today isn't some kind of mystical chill gene,
Haha, I wish.
right? But when you look at the data, and we have a lot of anecdotes to sift through, what looks like adulting or high performance is actually a very specific set of cognitive gears turning. We're looking for a unified theory of competence here.
A unified theory of competence. I mean, that sounds pretty ambitious.
It is, but it's there.
Because usually when I'm staring at a leaking sink, I'm not thinking about cognitive gears or unified theories. I'm thinking about how much a plumber is going to cost and why this is happening to me specifically.
And that is the trap. That why me spiral is exactly what these high performers manage to bypass. Well, today we are going to dissect exactly how they override that panic response. We're going to look at the don't panic protocol, the mechanics of extreme productivity, how to get that report done without an ulcer, and the art of high stakes communication.
I really want to start with the panic, because looking at these notes on Thomas and Emma, the airport scenario feels like the ultimate stress test. It's the environment where you have the least control and the highest potential for everything to just go completely wrong.
It really is. Travel, it strips away your routine. You're tired, you're probably hungry, and you are totally at the mercy of a massive, indifferent system.
Totally.
So the scenario is classic. Thomas and Emma are at the airport. The board goes red, flight delayed, the connection is dead.
My heart rate just went up thinking about it.
Right. Now, physiologically, most people spike cortisol right there. They enter fight or flight, they storm the desk.
Which is counterproductive, obviously, but
Yeah.
let's be honest. It feels good in the moment to yell. It feels like you're doing something.
It feels like action, but it's actually just venting, and it guarantees failure. Thomas, he does something the source material highlights as emotional regulation, but I'd call it a shift to, like a data gathering mode.
Data gathering mode. Okay.
He approaches the agent, but he isn't looking for an apology. He isn't looking to vent. He's looking for variables.
The notes say he asked clear, polite questions. That sounds a little basic, doesn't it? Just be nice to the staff. We've all heard that a million times.
It is so much more than just nice. It's strategic de-escalation. You have to understand the psychology of that gate agent.
Sure.
They are currently being yelled at by probably 200 other people. Their defense shields are all the way up. They're operating in a hostile environment.
Right, they're under attack.
Exactly. So when Thomas approaches with, low emotional intensity and specific binary questions like, what are the routing alternatives through Munich, rather than, why is this happening to me? He breaks the script.
He's hacking the social interaction.
That's it, exactly. He signals, I am not a threat. I am a problem solver just like you. He turns the gate agent from an adversary into a collaborator.
And the source says the staff gave him precise instructions because he was calm enough to receive them.
Yes, but more importantly, the staff wanted to help him. Why? Because he was probably the only person in the last hour who treated them like a human being.
So the win there wasn't that he got lucky and found a seat. It's that he created the environment where the agent was actually willing to find one for him.
Precisely. And we see the same pivot capability with another character in our source material, a woman named Anna. She seems to just run into logistical walls constantly.
Yeah, reading through Anna's file, I'm not sure I'd want to travel with her. I mean, she has terrible luck. She's in a European city with her husband, and they want to visit a museum. They show up, no tickets, pre-booking required.
Yeah.
Sold out.
Okay, now the failure mode here, the amateur move, is to fall for the sunk cost fallacy.
Explain that.
You stand there for 20 minutes staring at the closed door, arguing about whose fault it was. I told you to check the website. No, you said you'd handle it. You're mourning the reality that didn't happen.
The grief period for the canceled plan.
Right. It's a waste of time. But Anna's immediate response was to ask the staff for advice on alternatives. She didn't dwell on the closed door. She pivoted.
And what happened?
They suggested alternative activities nearby, and she used her phone right then and there to book tickets for the museum for the next day. It turned a disaster into a discovery.
And it wasn't just the museum. There was the road trip story. Right. A bridge was closed.
That's right, a bridge closure. That could have just ended the day's journey right there. But Anna and her husband, they researched local maps, they asked residents for guidance, and again, noticed the reliance on the local network, and they found an alternative route.
Which led them.
Through a small village they would have completely missed otherwise.
And then there was the train cancellation. I think this one's the most relatable because trains feel so final. You know?
Yeah.
If the tracks are broken, the tracks are broken. You can't just drive around it.
True. But we see this same trait in another story about a woman named Sarah. Her connecting train was canceled due to maintenance. She didn't just sit on the platform.
What did she do?
She checked alternative routes, she contacted station staff, and she adjusted their schedule. They ended up in this amazing local cafe having a unique cultural experience instead of just being miserable.
So the key takeaway here isn't that these people are lucky. It's that they view a disruption not as a stop sign, but as a new data point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, variable X has changed. Time to recalculate.
Flexibility turns a disaster into a discovery. The expert view here is that the ability to pivot immediately without that grief period of complaining about plan A failing, that is the hallmark of resilience.
I love that.
You have to shorten the refractory period between oh no and okay, what now?
Shorten the refractory period. Okay, let's bring this closer to home, literally.
Right.
The MacGyver mindset at home. Because you don't have to be in a foreign country to face a crisis. Sometimes the crisis is just your house trying to kill you.
Or at least inconvenience you greatly. Take Michael, for example.
Right. Michael faces sudden power outage.
He did. And instead of just sitting in the dark complaining about the utility company, he shifts into active mode. He secures emergency supplies, flashlights, batteries, but then he coordinates with neighbors.
Oh, that's interesting.
There is a communal aspect to his problem solving. He isn't just looking out for himself, he's ensuring safety for the whole group.
It reminds me of the plumbing story. There are, I think, 2 different plumbing incidents in the source stack.
Mm-hmm.
One is Michael dealing with a plumbing issue while hiking, basically fixing a blocked trail. And another is about his neighbor, Laura.
Yes, Laura's kitchen sink. It started leaking. Now, plumbing is intimidating for a lot of people. It's water, it's damaging, it's messy.
It creates a sense of helplessness. Like, I am not a plumber, therefore I cannot touch this.
Exactly.
My first instinct is to call a professional and just pay whatever they ask to make the scary water stop.
And that is a totally valid option if you have the resources, but Laura decided to troubleshoot first. She took a look. She inspected the pipes, she identified the source, researched a solution online, and actually fixed it herself.
Her husband helped, right?
He did, but she took the initiative. And that word initiative seems to be the glue holding this whole section together, whether it's Emma locking herself out or getting a flat tire.
The flat tire story is a classic example of agency.
It really is. Emma notices a flat tire early in the morning. She could wait for roadside assistance, which might take hours.
And cost money.
Instead, she pulls up a reliable guide, probably a video or a manual, and she changes it herself. She just followed the steps.
Okay, see, this is where I get a bit skeptical. Is the lesson here just everyone should learn to change a tire? Because I can call AAA and use that hour to answer emails. Is that wrong?
No, but the lesson isn't about the tire. It's about the locus of control.
Okay, explain that.
People like Emma and Laura operate with an internal locus of control. They believe their actions affect outcomes. When you wait for AAA, you are outsourcing your agency. When you fix it yourself, you are reinforcing the neural pathway in your brain that says, I am capable of solving novel problems.
And the source mentions the sense of achievement she felt afterwards. That's the hidden bonus, isn't it? You feel capable.
It creates a positive feedback loop. When you solve the problem, whether it's Michael clearing a hiking trail by asking locals for a detour, or Henry fixing his slow Wi-Fi by analyzing the router traffic, you prove to yourself that you are not a victim of circumstance.
So the don't panic protocol really boils down to stop, assess, and act. Don't freeze. Don't rage. Just find the next logical step.
It's active problem solving versus passive waiting. That is the fundamental distinction.
Okay, let's unpack this next section. We've established how to handle it when things go wrong. Now let's talk about how to just get things done. Section 2, the science of getting it done.
Strategic productivity. This is a big one.
And we have to talk about Daniel. Because Daniel is living my nightmare, and I think the nightmare of every single listener.
The 2-hour deadline?
Yes. The surprise 2-hour deadline. He gets an urgent email from his manager. He needs to prepare a complex report. It is due in 2 hours. I would probably spend the first 45 minutes just hyperventilating about how little time I have.
Which is exactly what Daniel initially felt, stress. That is that executive dysfunction kicking in. The task feels too big, so the brain just rejects it to protect itself from failure.
So what does he do?
He remembered his training. He immediately broke the task down. This is the crucial cognitive step. He didn't look at the report as one big mountain. He saw it as a series of small, manageable steps.
Segmentation.
Yeah.
But break that down for me. What does that actually look like in those first 10 minutes?
He stripped the task of its scary label. He didn't see the report. He likely saw a list of, say, 3 headers. Then he saw 5 bullet points under each header. He turned a creative, abstract task into a mechanical assembly line task.
So it's not write a report, it's write 3 sentences for this one bullet point.
Exactly. He lowered the cognitive load. He made the barrier to entry so low that he could just step right over it.
He also ignored distractions, it says.
Total focus. And we see the same pattern with Laura, who had a double deadline, 2 projects due at the same time.
That's the worst. Splitting your brain in half.
And she didn't try to multitask. That is the key. Multitasking is a myth. It is just rapid context switching, and it bleeds energy.
The switching tax.
Right. Every time you switch from project A to project B, you pay a tax of time and focus. Laura evaluated which project required immediate attention and which could wait, even just a little bit. And she used focus sessions. This was actually advice from her husband.
Just shout out to Laura's husband.
Indeed. But the technique is solid. Splitting work into focus sessions, like the Pomodoro technique, it creates momentum. Big tasks cause paralysis. Small, timed tasks create progress.
So if you're listening right now and you are feeling overwhelmed, break it down. Make the pieces so small they aren't scary anymore. And commit to one piece at a time.
And only one piece at a time.
Now, productivity isn't just about speed. It's also about boundaries. We have a story about Henry. Henry was working long hours and it was hurting his family time. I think a lot of us can relate to that bleed-over effect.
The always-on culture, it's insidious. You're at dinner, but you're checking Slack. You're at work, but you're texting your spouse. You are never fully anywhere.
So how did Henry solve it?
He didn't necessarily work less, but he worked more rigidly. He created a schedule with focused work blocks versus designated protected family time.
The source mentions the host's personal story as well. Well, the narrator of the source material. He had to write a report while preparing for a family event.
Yes, and the solution was exactly the same. Allocating focused time blocks. When he was at the family event, he was fully present. When he was writing the report, he was fully focused.
I think that phrase, fully present, is the holy grail. But it requires so much discipline. It's so hard to ignore that notification.
It requires what the author Cal Newport calls deep work. It is about compartmentalization. When you are in the work box, you are 100% resident there. When you step out, you close the box. Henry proved that you actually get more done this way because you aren't leaking energy constantly.
Let's shift to decision-making. Because nothing kills productivity like just being stuck, being indecisive. We have a few scenarios here. Daniel had a job offer dilemma.
A classic. High pay and low growth versus lower pay and high growth. A real career crossroads.
And the narrator had an apartment hunt dilemma. Small and close to work, or large and far away.
And Laura had a vacation choice, beach versus mountain.
What is the common thread in how they solve these? Because these are all very different problems with very different stakes.
The common thread is externalization. In every single case, they didn't just keep the debate circle in their heads.
They got it out.
They got it out. Daniel made a priority list. The narrator made a classic pros and cons list. And crucially, they consulted stakeholders.
Usually a spouse, according to these stories.
Right. They discussed it. Writing it down and talking it out eliminates the emotional fog of decision fatigue. When it's just in your head, it loops, it gets processed by the amygdala, the fear center. But when it's on paper, it's data. It moves to the prefrontal cortex.
When it is on paper, it is data. I really like that. It stops being a feeling and
Mm.
starts being a math problem you can actually solve.
Exactly. And once you see the logic, like Daniel choosing the job that aligned with his long-term goals, or the narrator choosing the apartment that suited their lifestyle, the decision becomes much more clear.
Okay, let's move on to section 3, the art of connection. We've covered crisis, we've covered productivity. Now we have to talk about dealing with other people. Because you can be a productivity machine, but if you can't talk to anyone, you're going to hit a ceiling pretty fast.
High-level communication. And I want to start with what I call professional precision.
We have Michael again. Michael seems to be the all-star in these stories.
He really is. He's a great example. So, Michael works with international clients. He had a meeting with a client from Germany. Now, cross-cultural communication is just. It's ripe for misunderstanding. Nuance gets lost.
Yeah, for sure.
And Michael sensed the client was unsure about a point he was making.
Now, most people would just plow ahead. Right, you don't want to make it awkward by asking, did you get that?
Yeah.
It feels, I don't know, condescending.
Exactly. We assume comprehension to save face for everyone. We just nod and smile. But Michael did the opposite. He paused and he asked polite, clarifying questions. He didn't assume anything.
And we see Henry doing this too, but with a senior manager.
Yes. Henry received unclear instructions. That is a dangerous spot to be in. If you guess and get it wrong, you look incompetent. But if you ask, you fear looking stupid.
The classic catch-22.
Right. But Henry used what we might call the echo technique. He summarized his understanding and sent a polite message just asking for confirmation.
So something like, just to be clear, you want X, Y, and Z.
Precisely. And the manager responded promptly, happily. It prevented a huge error before it ever happened. It's a verification loop.
The source material actually highlights some specific power words here. Clarify, confirm, ensure, demonstrate.
Those are the 4 pillars of precision. Let me clarify this point to ensure we are aligned. It sounds professional, it commands respect, and it saves so much time cleaning up messes later. It signals competence.
Okay, let's look at when things get heated. Conflict resolution. Sarah had a situation with her marketing team. 2 team members were disagreeing on a campaign.
This is a classic leadership test. Do you pick a side? Sarah didn't. She mediated. She let them both present their ideas calmly, and then she facilitated a discussion to combine the best of both.
So she didn't view it as A versus B. She viewed it as A plus B equals C.
Synthesis. She moved the conflict from being interpersonal to being intellectual. It became, we aren't fighting each other. We are fighting the problem of how to make a good campaign.
And then there's Michael again with the supplier negotiation. This is a masterclass. Instead of fighting over price, which is a zero-sum game, right? Someone wins, someone loses. He expanded the pie.
This is straight out of the Harvard negotiation project. If you only argue about price, someone loses. Michael started talking about delivery time, quality assurance, payment terms.
Right, like if I pay you a little less, maybe you can deliver a little later. Or if I pay you full price, can we extend the warranty?
Mutual gain. By discussing these other factors openly, he reached an agreement where both sides felt they won. He turned a confrontation into a puzzle they could solve together.
And then there's James. Poor James sent an email that got misinterpreted. The client got defensive.
This happens to everyone. Text is such a terrible medium for emotion. You read a tone that just isn't there.
So true.
But James didn't reply with another defensive email. He switched mediums. He picked up the phone.
Voice, not text. That's a big move.
He used his voice to apologize and clarify his intent. I'm so sorry if my email was unclear. That wasn't my intention.
Defensiveness kills progress. That seems to be the lesson here. Whether it's Henry discussing chores with his wife, which can be a very high-stakes negotiation.
Extremely high stakes. Domestic negotiation is the hardest kind there is.
Or Olivia handling a client complaint. The hero in these stories never fights fire with fire. They fight fire with water. They validate the other person.
They seek mutual gain. They stay calm. It is all about de-escalation.
Before we leave this section, let's talk about social fluency. Because James, the guy who fixed the email, also went to a networking event where he didn't know a soul.
The introvert's nightmare, standing in a room full of strangers holding a warm drink.
Exactly. And Emma went to a community gathering. What did they do? Because they didn't just stand in the corner looking at their phones.
No, and they also didn't try to be the life of the party. That's a common misconception, that you have to be some kind of charismatic genius to network. James simply prepared questions in advance, and he listened more than he talked.
And Emma asked open-ended questions. The source says she was showing genuine interest.
The secret isn't being interesting, it's being interested. Both James and Emma built meaningful connections not by performing, but by listening. They exploited something called the spotlight effect. Everyone else is so worried about how they look, so if you ask them questions about themselves, you make them feel comfortable and safe.
So it's preparation and active listening. It's funny how the soft skills actually require quite a bit of hard preparation.
Absolutely. It is that intentionality again. It always comes back to that.
Okay, section 4, the growth loop. This is all about how we get better, learning, innovation, and leadership.
And we have to talk about James again. This guy is a polymath. He is cooking, he is coding.
He is busy, but he struggles, right? It doesn't come easy to him.
No, not at all. He struggles with complex recipes, he struggles with coding concepts, but the story explicitly says he doesn't quit. He practices repeatedly, and he asks for help. This is the core concept of deliberate practice. He isn't just doing it, he is struggling through the hard parts on purpose.
It sounds a bit cliche, don't give up, but the sources give us some specific mechanics on how not to give up. We can look at Rachel's students.
Right. Rachel is an English teacher, and she has these students, Adam, David, and Emma. They all have different struggles. Adam used storytelling to improve his fluency. Emma reviewed her grammatical errors. But David did something very brave.
He recorded himself speaking.
Yes, to fix his pronunciation.
I hate listening to my own voice. It is physically painful. I think most people would rather get a root canal.
It is deeply uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the reality of your performance versus your perception of it. But that is the feedback loop. You cannot improve what you do not measure or critique. David had the humility to listen to his own mistakes so he could fix them.
And the host emphasizes this. The humility required to record yourself, or, like James, to ask a mentor for help. It's admitting you aren't perfect yet.
And that admission is the absolute prerequisite for growth. If you think you're already good, you stop learning.
What about innovation? Because innovation sounds like something that happens at, Apple or Tesla. But Olivia innovated in her kitchen.
She rearranged her utensils based on frequency of use to save time.
Innovation.
It is. It's friction analysis. She noticed that every time she cooked, she took 2 extra steps to get the spatula, so she removed the steps. Daniel did it with his filing system. He got the team to brainstorm a better way. Innovation isn't always high-tech. Sometimes it is just noticing that the usual way is inefficient and having the courage to change it.
It's seeing the friction and actively removing it. Most of us just tolerate the friction.
Exactly. We adapt to the annoyance rather than fixing the root of the annoyance.
And that leads perfectly into leadership. Because good leaders are essentially friction removers for their teams, aren't they?
That's a great way to put it. We see this with David's project. He realized he couldn't do it all alone.
So he identified his team's strengths and assigned roles accordingly. He didn't hoard the work.
And Thomas with the charity event. Clear plans, specific responsibilities. And Olivia, again, her team fell behind on a project. She didn't blame them.
What did she do?
She held a meeting simply to clarify roles and priorities.
The source calls her a blocker remover, effectively.
She provided clarity and structure. Good leadership isn't about cracking a whip. It's about clearing the path so the team can run. It is servant leadership in action.
So we have covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about crisis, productivity, connection, and growth.
It's a pretty comprehensive toolkit for life, really.
So let's try to synthesize this. If we were to build an avatar of effectiveness based on Daniel, Olivia, Henry, James, Sarah, Thomas, and Emma, what does this person look like?
Well, this avatar, they prepare like a pessimist like Thomas gathering data before the crash, but they act like an optimist like Anna finding the hidden village.
Okay.
They communicate like Michael, always clarifying and confirming. They solve problems like Laura taking agency to fix the sink, and they lead like Olivia supporting the team and clearing the path.
And what's the one thing that connects all of them? The common denominator.
Intentionality. None of these people reacted on autopilot. When the flight was canceled, Thomas didn't default to anger, he chose inquiry. When the email was misunderstood, James didn't default to defensiveness, he chose connection. They paused, they analyzed, and then they acted with purpose.
It's that pause between the stimulus and the response. That's where the magic happens.
That's where everything happens.
But there's one thing that really jumped out at me in almost every single story we talked about today. And it's a bit counterintuitive for a, self-help deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
We talk so much about self-made success, the rugged individual. But in almost every one of these stories, what did we see? He asked his wife. She consulted a colleague. He called a mentor. He coordinated with neighbors.
That is a brilliant observation. The source material strongly suggests that independence is a bit of a myth. True high performance seems to rely heavily on interdependence.
Interdependence.
Knowing when to ask for help, when to delegate, and when to just listen.
So you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. In fact, you'll probably be more effective if you don't. The competent adult isn't a lone wolf. They are a node in a network.
Absolutely. Knowing who to ask is often much faster and more effective than knowing the answer yourself.
So here is our call to action for you, the listener. As you go about your day-to-day, which character do you need to be? Do you need to be the troubleshooter like Laura, the diplomat like Michael, or the strategist like Daniel?
Pick one. Try on the mindset. See what happens.